Call of Duty's controversial skill-based matchmaking
is the strictest and the worst I've ever seen in my life.
Black Ops 6 skill-based matchmaking is on a whole new level.
Skill-based matchmaking.
Skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking.
Skill-based matchmaking?
They have skill-based matchmaking in the training course.
Boy, oh boy. SBMM, an acronym that sends shivers down every COD player's spine. But for those of you who don't know, it stands for skill-based matchmaking. And if you spend more than 2 seconds on YouTube, you'll find out how much people absolutely hate it.
Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
Because it used to be that how you got matched in a lobby was based off of 2 variables. First one being your ping, because ping is king, even though mine is sometimes 200, and what level and prestige you were. But let me tell y'all a little something. SBMM has been around for a lot longer than you think. Like, I'm talking potentially since COD 4, the original Modern Warfare. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Scovo, all of those games felt great. And you know, I'd agree with you. Every game from COD 4 all the way up until about Ghost, that's when things started to get a little messy. The general consensus was those games felt really, really good. So the glaring question is, why are the current games such a problem if SBMM has been around for so long? And that's what we're gonna get into. It's not that the variables have changed, like player level and someone's ping. It's the number of variables that have been added to those original 2 variables that have caused all of these problems, like the games feeling stale, everyone having a 1 KD, matches literally not changing in difficulty. But before I show you these variables, let me get one thing straight. No, you're not too old to be playing video games. No, your skills have not lapsed. And no, you shouldn't just give up. We're being played like puppets. The degree of how much control they have over your matches and how long you play is actually shocking. And this is how they do it. All of these things are things that Call of Duty developers take into consideration when making a match for a player. And it's been stated that Call of Duty has historically considered player skill among other factors as part of the matchmaking process as far back as Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare back in 2007. And that's fine and dandy, but why are they implementing all of this stuff in the first place? Well, I'm glad you asked. Essentially what they're saying is this: without all of these variables, the likelihood of players quitting and not returning to the matchmaking process drastically increases. And they call this massive decrease of players a blowout match, which is when a team loses by roughly 30% of the match score or 30 points total. Therefore, leading to a bunch of players quitting. Bunch of babies. I mean, no reason to beat around the bush, right? That's just what they are. That would leave the good players with the other good players. They would fight, have a blowout, and it would just keep compounding. And they call this a negative feedback loop. And they express that it would be overall bad for the player base. But what they really mean is that it would be overall bad for their wallets. Because less people playing Scovo means less opportunity for people to buy the Nicki Minaj skin. Don't you know it's simple economics? And you know, heaven forbid we make only 80 million when we were gonna make 100 million this year. God, please no. So the developers scratched their hats and said, what can we do about this? And then someone stood up and said, I know what we can do. We can hire a mathematician and math the piss out of this thing. And I tell you what, that's exactly what they did. They started measuring the win rates of teams with different skills. They determined that player skills based off kills per minute and not off of KDR, because they thought of reverse boosting way before any of us did. So they needed a different metric to track how good someone technically is, which is why they started using score per minute instead. So much for me ever playing the doggone objective again, because why would you if it's just gonna make your games harder? Now that they knew that score per minute equals someone's raw skill in general, they took those skills and were able to determine within 14 days if those skill level players would return when winning or losing a match. Because again, let me reiterate, people quitting is bad for business. They then plugged all of these numbers in to the circle of variables laid out above, starting with the latitude, longitude of where someone was on the frickin' globe. And of course, people searching for TDM got paired up with other people searching for TDM, and the search boys and the dom Dime Boys, and so on and so forth. They then calculate the average skill of each search, then calculate an acceptable skill range, add all of those searches together until they get a full lobby. Are you beginning to see how crazy convoluted this is? I mean, hot damn, you almost have to take a breather. They then factored time into this godforsaken equation because you don't want people to wait too long. That'll make them quit too. Then they won't buy the Nicki Minaj skin.
Playtime is over when Nikki drops in.
And the last thing they had to do was to make sure their ping was good so they didn't lag all over the freaking place and think this game was a load of crap. And what they ended up with, and what the math is showing, that if you're above the 50th percentile of skill that they've determined based off their voodoo metrics, that yeah, your lobbies are going to be sweaty because they want to find this happy medium zone that keeps you from quitting. Because if you quit, no Nicki Minaj. But they failed to think about how those matches look if you're in that happy medium zone. And make no mistake about it, what those matches look like is this. You get a kill, then you die. You get a kill, then you die. You get a kill, then you die. Guess what happens next? You get a kill, that's right, then you die. I mean, for goodness sakes, Lord Almighty. It's just brutal to the people who are above that 50th percentile in skill rating. And don't confuse 50th percentile of skill as 50% of the player base. 80% of the total COD player base is beneath that 50th percent skill rating, which means only 20% of COD players are above it. Basically, they are keeping the 80% of COD players happy, and the other 20% are just dust in the wind. Because why shoot off 8 fingers when you could only shoot off 2? And that's essentially what they've done. SBMM is saving the majority of the player base. Rah-rah! Victory. But I tell you what, victory cannot be achieved without sacrifice. Those developers know it better than anyone. And guess what? It sucks really bad because I have to face some facts. And the fact is, these games are just not made for us anymore. Do you have anything to add?
I'm sleepy. I'm a sleepy baby.
What else do you want to add?
Subscribe.
Yes, if you like this video or found it informative, please subscribe. It took me a while to go through all this junk and actually understand it. Because let me tell you, it's been a long time since I've done some arithmetic. So if you found it informative and you want to see more, I'd love to have you a part of the Cowboy Club. Comment down below and tell me, should they have gone this route or should they not have gone this route? I sure do appreciate you watching. Now go on, get you some, partner. Well, golly, would you look at that? How fitting.